What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about the progressive steps in which this Chicago Bulls team can make to make progression into next season. Now, at the end of the day, championship aside, of course, we all want to go and win a championship, and the Bulls team should always aspire to be the best it could possibly be. I guess today's video is going to be discussing what I personally feel would be necessary and what I think would be seen as good progress heading into next season, even if the championship is not what we actually obtain next year. Because at the end of the day, it is easier said than done. It's not easy to win a championship, and you have to be prepared and as close to perfect as possible to win a championship, alongside with a little bit of luck involved as well. And ultimately, we're not really sure if we're there yet, but in terms of progression, I think if we do make progression, take one step closer, learn how to do things a little bit better and stuff like that, I feel like we could get a little bit closer to where we want to be, and that's championship aspirations. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you can see progressive steps being taken by this Bulls team next season. Are you optimistic about the progression we can make, or are you relatively disappointed in what we've done already, from free agency to trades and stuff like that? And do you kind of see us taking a step down from where we actually were? And all I can say is, as a Bulls fan, you always want to be the optimist. You always want to be the most positive person in the room. You always want to be the person that has the belief that this Bulls team can take levels upon levels above. But the one thing that I can say is that there's absolutely no guarantees that that is going to happen. Again, we suffered some very unfortunate fates last year, and that by no means that we're going to have a very good season this time around, and all the luck is going to be on our side, and we have the talent involved as well. Unfortunately, some NBA teams have very good starts and don't end up finishing where they need to finish and stuff like that. It is what it is, and we did have a relatively inconsistent season last year, and maybe some things just don't change. We're going to find out a lot about this Bulls team next season. We decided to keep the core the same. The core continuity of the team is the same. AK wanted a very similar team heading into next season. We've addressed some issues, not all issues, in which the Bulls probably had last season, and that will hopefully make us a little bit better. But at the end of the day, we are, I guess, looking at this team relatively the same, and we'll see next season whether or not that would have been the right thing, or maybe we should have went in a different direction a little bit earlier. All these questions will be answered, but for right now, what this team is, we're looking forward to seeing what this team can do in terms of progressive steps. So here are my personal progressive steps that the Chicago Bulls can make to make this, I guess, believable for the Bulls in future seasons, alongside of this season as well. The first thing I need to talk about is consistency. Not just consistency in health, but consistency in playing style. I think I read somewhere, and I'm pretty sure I've seen videos about this as well, about the Chicago Bulls' top five or starting five being the 18th best in the league. That's obviously the second half of that rating. There are 18 better starting fives out there than the Chicago Bulls starting five. And I think a lot of people reacted negatively to that by Bleacher Report. And I have a theory as to why they put us so low. Because let's be honest, if you're looking on paper, Lonzo Ball is one of the best defensive point guards, one of the better playmaking guards in the NBA, with a very good three-point shot. Very, very solid point guard. Zach LaVine, an all-star that averaged 27 points per game a couple seasons ago and was injured, and yet still managed to get 24 points per game for his season. DeMar DeRozan coming off one of his best seasons of his whole career, an MVP caliber player last season, and definitely showed that he was in that conversation as one of the best players in the NBA that year. Patrick Williams, still young, up and coming. I don't have too much to say about Patrick Williams. Probably the weaker link in terms of the majority of the starting five, but has the potential in, again, 5 years' time to probably be one of the better players on this team, and that is serious potential there, but that's a risky game. And Nikola Vucevic, who even in his worst seasons in the NBA, which he probably was last season, was a 17-10 player, had one of the best numbers a center could possibly ask for from Nikola Vucevic. Was he the best he could have possibly been? No. And I understand that so heartedly, and I understand his defensive woes as well was a big issue for the Chicago Bulls, but his numbers were still very, very good for any sort of center in this league, and I think most centers would be begging to have the numbers that Vucevic would have had. So the starting five on paper does look very solid. It does look better than the 18th in which the Bleacher Report suggested, and arguably it should be within the top 10, closer to the 5th mark in my opinion, in terms of the top 5, the balance of the starting 5. But let's be honest, the reason why they didn't pick it is because the consistency of the starting 5 wasn't there. How many games did the starting 5 play together? Patrick Williams out for the majority of the year. He was the main core of the starting 5. That is obviously a big reason as why our starting 5 wasn't ranked so highly, because Patrick Williams missed so much of the year. Zach LaVine in and out from injuries, multiple injuries. He kind of had a down year as well. Lonzo Ball missed half the season because of injuries. Nikola Vucevic obviously was there for the most part. DeMar DeRozan was there for the most part. But the starting 5 kept shifting and changing. We saw Kobe White in there sometimes. We saw Ayo in there sometimes. We saw Caruso in there sometimes. That's the reason why they believe the Chicago Bulls starting 5 is the 18th best in the NBA. Because on paper, it isn't. It's better than that. And if we see them all play together, you'll probably see that it's better than that as well. But if they can't play together on a consistent basis, I can understand why Bleacher Report did that. And maybe that's an unpopular opinion. Maybe that's not the reason why they did it. But that's personally the reason why I see this Bulls team and this Bulls starting 5 get as low as they did, which is very upsetting, but I can understand it. And that's the consistency of playing healthy, the consistency of playing together, and ensuring our playing style is the same. One of the most important things for a team is to have an adaptive style, but also have a style that you're relatively known for, no matter who's on the court. And I think the best team that does this is the Golden State Warriors. I always feel that they have a system in place, offensively and defensively, where even if Curry's not playing, you can still see how they play. You see the structure, you see the movement, you see the defense, you see the plays, you see everything. And it may be predictable, but at the end of the day, it's very hard to beat, no matter who's on that team. And I think they've done a great job for many years to instill that. The Bulls, as of right now, Billy Donovan has had 2 seasons with the Chicago Bulls to 2 completely different teams. You're expecting Billy Donovan to have a relatively similar team from last season to this season, and you're hoping some of those good habits, some of those good structures, some of those good plays, some of those good defensive and offensive capabilities will also be part of this team for a little bit more consistency. That's going to be important as well. I always look to Golden State as the example because, in my opinion, they are the most innovative team in the NBA right now in terms of style of play. You looked at the Spurs back in 2012, 2013, they were innovative. No one was doing what the Spurs were doing. And the Warriors kind of adapted that Spurs styles and elevated it and made it their own. And the Bulls have to kind of do the same in terms of what they do. They have to be innovative. They have to find ways to make structures their own, but they also need to do it for consistency. So consistency in play, consistency in terms of players that are healthy as well. Very, very, very big important things. I also believe you have to learn to walk before you can run. I think next year, of course, I would love to see the Bulls go to the finals. I'd love to see the Bulls go win a championship. And by all means, those are still on the table. As unlikely as it is, or likely it is as it is compared to how you interpret what next season is going to be about, I believe you have to learn to walk before you can run. I would find it very astonishing to believe that a team that went from getting gentlemen swept against the Bucks last season to go and win a championship the next year with relatively the same squad, healthy or not healthy, that's a lot to ask for out of this Bulls team. I think progressive steps is winning a playoff series because we only won 1 game out of that Milwaukee Bucks series. I would love to see us make it competitive in the second round, but we have to learn to win a playoff series. Zach LaVine has still yet to learn how to win a playoff series. Lonzo Ball has still yet to be in the playoffs. And a lot of this young core team has been in the playoffs now, has learned what it feels like to lose. Now they need to feel like what it's going to be like to win. What does it take to win? And the pressure of winning every single series will now be put on their back. When they go into the second round, that's usually when the best of the best teams are fighting each other. You get rid of the rest. You get rid of those play-in teams. You get rid of those, I guess, 6th to 8th best teams, or 6th and 7th teams. You get those top 4 teams really fighting for it in the East and the West, the best of the best in the conference. And we need to feel like, we need to believe, and we need to feel like we're one of those top 4 teams. And I think you have to win a playoff series in order to do that, no matter how difficult it might be. And it will very much be difficult. Depending on where we finish, this could be one of the hardest things to do next season. but we need to learn how to win in a playoff series. And that's the next step. If we can learn how to win in a playoff series next year and we keep that core team relatively the same the season after, then I believe championship aspirations won't be that hard to ask for. But if we're going to go in a stagnant situation where we're versing, maybe it's the Milwaukee Bucks again, maybe it's Boston, maybe it's Philly, whoever we're versing, and we fail to compete and we get eliminated in the first round once again, that's stagnating. That's not getting progressively better. That's being where you are already. And I think many people are predicting at this point in time, that's what's going to happen to the Chicago Bulls. So I think that's more important. That's the most important thing to me. Learning how to win a playoff series and being consistent. Those are the two things that I believe the Chicago Bulls will have to improve if we're going to make a serious shout and serious noise in the Eastern Conference next year. Can it be done? Absolutely, it can be done. I believe we can be consistent. I believe we can be healthy. And I believe we can win a playoff series next year. But those are the things that will make us progressively better. Those are the things that will make most Bulls fans, in my opinion, believe that there's going to be more to this team that meets the eye in terms of the future as well. But if we're stagnating or we've kind of get stuck where we were last season where we were inconsistent, guys are not playing, we're seeing so many rotational changes and we're still, our style is kind of lacking as well. And we enter the NBA playoffs and all those things add up and we still lose in the first round. Is that progression? Is that making it better? I think AK said, I remember when AK said at one point that good teams have 4 or 5 couple years together. And I feel like some of those teams that he mentions has success beyond those 4 and 5 years. They're not just great now. They did have some good successes in their beginning and early stages. I remember that Boston Celtics team again with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I think they had Kyrie at that point, but Kyrie wasn't playing. They had Terry Rozier, but a lot of that team was relatively the same. And they lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James and Kevin Love, I believe, at that time. It was a Game 7, and they took it every step of the way. And that was a beautiful sight to see. But that was the success before where they were now, where they made the NBA Finals. That's their progression. I feel like the Bulls are going to have to do something very similar. And I know there are many other teams out there, like even the Golden State Warriors. They won their championships, but they also lost in the finals as well. There's progression, in my opinion, in these teams. And we need to learn and we need to find our progression as well to make us stand out from every other team in the NBA. Sometimes that's growing pains. A lot of these young guys are going to feel very upset at how they performed in the NBA playoffs. They're going to have to take those extra leaps. And I feel like everybody on this team will have to take an extra leap. And I'm excited for that. And I feel like growing pains will make us better in the future. And hopefully we see that progression. Because if we stagnate once again, I think there will be questions that need to be asked about whether or not keeping this core is a good idea. Many people, including me, I was the first one to admit it. Towards the end of the Milwaukee Bucks series, I was talking about trading some of the core pieces of this team. And I was talking about I guess revamping the bench, making this bench completely different. And I still to this day believe a lot of this bench should have been different. But the core, they decided to go with that, and I fully respect that. And I'm hopeful that it'll work out with everybody healthy. So we'll wait and see. But those are my progressive steps. If you guys agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below. If you think a championship is the absolute 100% necessity next season, let me know in the comments below. I know not many people will think like that, but at the end of the day, a lot of people just think championship or bust. Championship or bust. You're not here to play second fiddle. You're not here to play second best. You're not here to get eliminated in the playoffs. You're here to win it all, and everything else is a failure. But even in failures, you take progression for next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. Sometimes failure is what a lot of people need to succeed in the future. So again, it comes down to opinion, of course, but I know that will probably be some people out there that believe if you're not winning a championship, you're not doing anything. And I guess we'll wait and see if those people will end up commenting or not, and we'll have that discussion. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you agree or disagree, and feel free to let me know in the comments below. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care.